for me. That I felt like the walls were closing in on me. That maybe people would be better off without me. And I sat with this day after day, and I think the biggest fear that I had would be if someone were to find out and see beyond this, the smile, the carefully curated, cheerful me. So it was a dark place for me to be in, and I think like anyone who has a lived experience, your biggest fear is exposure. And I remember the day when someone saw beyond it. And it was actually my A&P professor, Anne. And what she did, she pulled me over after lab one day on a Tuesday, and she said, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was horrified. I was so embarrassed that she saw some kind of red flag, whatever she saw. And then I felt a wave of relief rush over me because she saw me. Someone actually cared about me. And then I realized that I could get help. I could tell my mom. And when I told my mom, she helped me get a therapist. And I started to get better. I started to recover. And then I went on to make my life's work of being a clinician and an educator. So Anne's intervention wasn't clinical or poetic or magical at all, to be honest. She was kind of a classic introvert, so she was like a little bit awkward in how she asked me. And I felt really awkward too. But I think that awkward conversations are the most brave kinds of conversations we can have. And I don't think she knew when she asked me, and I don't think we realized how much our students look up to us. I looked up to her. Her asking that made a big difference to me. I don't think she realized how desperate I was. And I certainly don't think she was intending to sort of catapult me into this life's path that she did. So her awkwardness was very brave. And so today I want to share ways we can get awkward, and I want to share a quote with you that who isn't awkward? I always say life is awkward, not us. Isn't life really awkward? Yeah. So we have to be willing to be awkward. And so I want to also share a way we can kind of get to this awkwardness in a way that I believe in the time I've been doing this as a professional, as a person, all the wrestling that I've done along the way. I think this quote really captures it, and I hope it will kind of capture our discussion together today. So I love it. This is Alvin Toffler, and he says that the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And when we think about how far we've come with mental health access, prevention, conversation, we've unlearned a lot, but we have more to unlearn and relearn and keep going, repeat the pattern, especially in light of this age of anxiety, and especially in light of modern brain science that basically on a daily basis turns over our prior conceptions of so-called healthy or normal or mental health. You know, we can think like this isn't part of our job, but what we know is that a student is more likely to show up in your office than they are to make their first stop at the counseling office. So we are that front line, first point of contact, and they look up to us. There was a great article by David Brooks in the Times. He did an op-ed, and it talked about like students learn from those they love. And then my dean brought it to one of the meetings, and I was like, oh, like I was like, what? Like they're using the word love? I was thrilled, right? But students love us. They look up to us. And it is our job because, you know, it doesn't, and I'm going to talk about this myth in a minute, but we don't have to be poetic or clinical or magical. We have to ask simple and maybe awkward questions. But it is our calling in today because this is what we're seeing. This is what we're seeing. We have an opportunity to respond and change and save lives. So mental health isn't, you know, help and intervention isn't just this other thing, like this is just fine and dandy for our students. It's for all of us.